Detective Pikachu comes out soon. My review will post on Escape to the Movies, but for now, it's good. Is it the best video game movie ever? I mean, it's the best video game movie ever that doesn't have The Rock in it.
George? You okay? Ready to do this, buddy?
So, I guess, spoiler, The Rock isn't in this. But yeah, it's a ton of fun, both a good movie and a good Pokemon movie, and to a lot of people that sounded like a strange idea, building the first live-action attempt at such a huge franchise like Pokemon around a minor spin-off title like Detective Pikachu. But it ends up making a shocking amount of sense. The problem with doing a Pokemon movie was always going to be that the player character is generally a blank slate. The Pokemon themselves are obviously the stars, but they can't really deliver dialogue. The world of the games themselves run on really strange, not quite reality logic that requires a lot of explanation if you're going to do something like a sports movie but about Pokemon battles. And I mean, the anime made it mostly work, and I guess you could adapt that, but is Ash really that much of an improvement over a blank slate? Is he though? Is he really? I mean, I guess like if you got like two really funny people, you could get a good comedy duo for a Team Rocket movie since their Pokemon talk, so it's like a, a crime duo movie but for Pokemon. That sounds kind of fun. Really fun, actually, but maybe it's more of a sequel thing than a first movie. But Detective Pikachu, turns out, makes a lot of sense. Audiences are generally familiar with detective movie tropes as a genre, so that can be the main thrust of the plot, with Pokemon battles and evolutions in gyms and other world-building details as part of the story to get introduced, but not as the focus. The gimmick of the talking Pikachu, that only the lead kid understands, lets the most popular figure in the series. The mascot takes center stage in the form of a slightly alternate take that lays things out for new fans. It fits together, it works. It even sets things in place nicely to do a more traditional Pokemon story if they end up wanting to do more of these, which, yeah, they're probably going to end up doing more of these. And it leads me to think, we've talked about game movies on here a couple times before, and last week we looked at the awful-looking Sonic trailer.
Meow?
Maybe there's something to this whole looking at pieces of the game instead of the whole game or the whole franchise for what to do with these adaptations. Like, Illumination, the Minions people, are doing the animated Mario movie, which feels like a mistake, but keep an open mind, I guess. But, while trying to find a cinematic narrative within the purposefully slim and malleable Mario setup has defeated filmmakers before, maybe it would have been or would be a more sensible idea for them to do what Detective Pikachu did. Maybe start out with a movie about, say, just Yoshi, and maybe the Toads and assorted other little monster guys. Funny animals being funny is something animation is pretty reliably good at, and it would be a way to build a strong foundation for that universe, and you could add more characters later with more focus. Maybe that would be the key. I mean, think about this. We just finished this big elaborate thing with the Avengers cycle and the whole bigger Marvel Cinematic Universe business. It's worth remembering that they started that whole thing out with a movie about Iron Man, a character very few non-comic book fans had any real attachment to at the time, whose robot suit gimmick and grab bag of C-list enemies weren't exactly screaming for a feature film. He wasn't a Wolverine or a Spider-Man. Sure, he was an Avenger, but he wasn't like the Hulk or Captain America or even Thor. For decades, his central contribution to that team in the comics was being their landlord. So he might not have seemed like an obvious place for Marvel to start, but his simple, kidnapped billionaire genius forced to make a weapon suit origin story updated topically for a war on terror setting and recast with Robert Downey Jr.'s comeback charisma made him an unexpectedly ideal vessel for post-9/11 catharsis for US audiences that also held a global appeal. From that seemingly offside beginning, they grew an entire universe. Now, of course, we all do remember that someone did in fact try this once before with a video game movie in Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. Right? Well, I assure you that was a real movie that absolutely did happen, and it was supposed to be the first of multiple solo Street Fighter origin movies, and it was awful, though Chris Klein's scenes were memorable, I guess.
Gangland homicide? Call me Nash. You just inherited a big problem.
I've chasing around an organization called Shadow Lao. His name's Bison. I've tracked him through 11 major cities on 4 continents and never come close, not once. This guy walks through the raindrops.
Bob! Everybody out! Hey, you better get out of here.
You don't want to take it to this dance, Detective.
But that doesn't invalidate the concept, just the execution. Especially when the gaming world continues to be full of unique and interesting supporting, secondary, or tertiary characters like Alex Vance, Poison, King Hippo, and dozens of others who could be the unexpected entry point to an adaptation of their respective franchise. You know, or failing that, you could always just take the main character and give them a different hat.